Senator Mike Duffy returns to the Senate this week after being cleared of 31 charges of fraud, bribery, and breach of trust. When the senator returns, Duffy's lawyer, Donald Bain, says the Senate should reimburse him for the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the salary that he lost during his suspension. The chairman of the Senate's Internal Economy Committee told CTV's Question Period that Duffy can put a motion before the Senate to get that money back, but it's unlikely it would pass.
I think there wouldn't be an appetite. I think most senators feel we already had that disciplinary discussion and there was sanctions taken, and it was taken based on the information we had at the time. And I believe personally that that information is still valid. So the Senate did what it needed to do in an unprecedented way to make sure that the rules of the Senate were respected. And I also want to point out we went further than any legislature has ever gone in dealing with these matters.
Now, the Duffy scandal was all documented within the pages of Duffy, Stardom to Senate to Scandal. Author Dan Leger joins us now from Halifax. Dan, good to see you.
Thanks for asking me.
What do you think Mike Duffy is returning back to? The Senate is a beautiful chamber, but what kind of environment do you think he's going back to?
Well, you know, I think he's going to meet the whole range of sort of emotions and reactions from other senators. He did have a share of supporters, a lot of senators, on all sides of the House at the time of the suspensions in the fall of 2013, felt that Duffy had been railroaded by the Senate, by the Conservatives who just wanted him out of the way, muzzled, and kind of to remove him as a distraction to the Conservative Party. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there will be people who still think Duffy, like I guess Senator Housakos, and there will be people who feel that he was done hard by the Senate and who will probably welcome him back with open arms.
Now, there will also be voices in the chamber saying, listen, you know, he was cleared of all the charges. Why wouldn't he be able to get his money back?
That's a good question. I mean, you know, the Senate, you know, is saying that, you know, they had a thoroughgoing look at it. That is not true. Mike Duffy gave a speech in the Senate to defend himself, but he had no chance to bring in any type of evidence. He had no lawyer. He had no one to speak for him. Neither did Senator Wallen or Senator Brazo. So, you know, it was a kangaroo court, a star chamber of senators, and it was all ramrodded by the Prime Minister's office. And this came out amply clearly in the Duffy trial, that this all came from the PMO. Now, should they reimburse him? I don't know. Did he, you know, was he a good manager of public money? Evidently not. But he wasn't a criminal, and that was found in a court of law.
This has gone on for 3 years, enough for a book, obviously, because you published one. Of all the things that you found out in the course of putting that book together, what surprised you the most?
I think how dirty the politics really was, that even a guy like Mike Duffy, who was you know, Parliament Hill's man in the know, and, you know, the affable, avuncular old Duff on Parliament Hill, you know, had been covering it for over 30 years and probably felt he knew it really well. But, you know, I don't think he understood how down and dirty it was going to get. And I don't think he understood how ruthless the Harper Conservatives were when anything came along to threaten their status quo. So I think it's the lack of insight into this whole thing that surprised me the most anyway.
He knows everyone on the Hill. What do you think the path to redemption is in terms of, you know, rebuilding a relationship with many people up there?
You know, it's all out there in front of him. He is a representative of Prince Edward Island. That has been, you know, substantiated. He is a legitimate senator representing the island, and he should go in there and represent the Islanders. That's what they want, I think, over there. They're really upset with Mike Duffy. They want to see somebody stand up for them in the Senate. And this is a great way for Duffy to get it back. I mean, a lot of celebrities have run into trouble over the years. They've said, okay, look, I'm sorry, let's move on, I'll try to do better. And then when they sincerely do try to do better, that is the path to redemption.
It's basically been almost like a civics lesson in how Canadians have learned about their Senate. How do you think the institution has changed through this?
There's been a lot of changes, you know, already. They're not the kinds of changes that some people want to see, for instance, abolition or the establishment of an elected Senate. But they have tightened up a lot on the expense rules. They've tried to separate partisan and Senate activities, personal and Senate activities. There's a lot more accounting for the senators' money. and there's a lot more public disclosure. And you know, the fresh, clear, brilliant light and fresh air of public disclosure is always the best way to avoid these problems in the future. So the Senate was a loosey-goosey place with a lot of sort of barely understandable rules and unenforced rules. That's changing, and that's only for the good.
Your book is called Duffy, Stardom to Senate to Scandal. Dan Leger, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for asking.